And I thought we'd start today with a little bit of pranayama practice. And so, taking a version of Nadi Shodhana, of the alternate nostril breathing, and doing it one at a time. To start with, you can take your hand and cover your, I'll mirror you, cover your right nostril with your thumb. Take a moment there. And when we can start to really consciously smooth out the breathing, that we're breathing in through the left side and out through the left side. And doing that a few times, just nice and slow. And you might notice as you go along that you can add just a little bit of a pause, either at the top of the inhale or at the bottom of the exhale, or maybe even both. And so they have found, scientists have, that the left nostril actually controls the right side of the brain. And the right side of the brain is really the dreamer, all about creativity and and sort of spaciousness. And so breathing into this idea of the left feeding into the right side of the brain and sort of feeding into spaciousness, inviting you to soften your edges, inviting perhaps a sort of dreaminess. We're going to talk about dreaming tonight. So, hi Margie, we're just getting started. You can grab some props, some bolster blankets, things like that. And we're breathing in and out through the left nostril. And we'll just do that for another cycle. So, one more inhale through the left and exhale through the left. And then you can just let that go and just breathe through both sides for a moment and notice the difference. And then we'll switch it. And so you can cover your left nostril with your thumb gently just on the ridge of it and breathe in and out through the right side. And just noticing without any sort of like one's better or one's not as good, but noticing which one feels more open tonight. And so breathing in and out through the right side, the right nostril is more intimately connected with the left side of our brain. And the left side of our brain, working with this idea sort of can help us feel more grounded, more wise. It's about knowledge, present. And keep going like that. And just like before, you could breathe in and out, or you might add just a little bit of holding the breath in, or just a little bit of the holding of the breath out. And the phrase that kept coming to me as I was practicing today was gracefully holding your ground. Gracefully holding your ground. So from the breath here, sort of inviting a groundedness, the left brain. And you can do that, let's say, 2 more times. And there's absolutely no hurry ever in this class. So when you finish that second exhalation, just let your hands drop to your knees or thighs where they're comfortable, breathing in and out through both sides a couple of times. So merging now as we breathe in and out through both sides, feeling both the dreaminess, that we can be spacious and soft, but we can also be really gracefully grounded and really present and anchored. And with your dreamy self, you can arrange your way into a butterfly to start with today. And so the yin butterfly is a little different than a traditional hatha one, where you'll have your feet further away. So instead of pulling them right up close, let them drift away from you a bit. And you can use props here. You can put something underneath your seat if you like. You can also, you might find it interesting to put a block underneath your feet perhaps, and that's going to increase sensation. So if you want to increase sensation, put a block underneath the feet. That's going to do that. If you want to decrease sensation, sit on things, or you can pile bolsters, blocks, etc. up to lean on anywhere at all, okay? And so the key here is a rounded spine. If it's okay with your neck, a heavy head, a soft face, an easy jaw. And we're really going to bring some attention to the belly this evening, working with the earth element. And so in Chinese philosophy, it's so beautiful that they have 5 seasons. And the 4 that we're familiar with, right? Spring, summer, winter, fall. The 5th one is the change of seasons. It's most poignant at the end of summer, but it also happens between all the other seasons. And it's some say it's the last month of each season. I heard the other day that it's the last 18 days, to get very specific, of each season. And we're just about rolling into the last 18 days of winter here. And so the organs that we would pay attention to in this time are the stomach and the spleen. So how is your stomach? How's your belly? For some of us, it tends to be a place where there's a bit of tension, and it's sort of like secret tension. I know for myself, it tends to sort of hide, like I don't even notice that it's there. It's not like gritting your teeth kind of tension, it's buried. And so, could you go down there and explore, be a somonaut, an explorer of your own inner world? And with your attention, just touch on the belly. And notice how the compression here might invite a slow, gentle softening. Maybe one layer of tension is peeled away. You might notice as time passes here that you can surrender a bit more, that you can really let yourself be taken by the fullness of gravity to whatever is your place here, because everybody's skeleton is very different. So a little bit about the stomach. This is a Professor Worsley who talks about traditional Chinese medicine. He says the stomach is like a bakery. It receives all the various ingredients, and if blended and baked properly, it'll make a delicious cake. And the spleen is likened to a fleet of trucks working 24/7 that transport the cakes to the consumers. Within us, the spleen transports and distributes nourishment to every cell at every level, physical and non physical. So in Chinese medicine, it's called the official of transportation, or transportation and distribution. Everything that moves in the body does so by the grace of the spleen. So imagine everything that moves. Everything is moving inside you. You have thousands and thousands of cells living and cells dying and cells being born inside you right now in this moment. So much taking place, and it's so much change. So begin the process of returning. Start to slowly call yourself back, and not really missing any bit of this. That after the compression comes the freedom, sort of buzzing, perhaps feeling. You can counterpose any way you like, but I always, after the butterfly, I'm just always a big fan of windshield wipers. So that would be my suggestion. You all know me by now. I got to put these in every class at least once. But other ways that your body might want to move, it's really all okay. It's however you need to wash that one off with attention and care. And imagining, this distribution of chi. Chi is like, it's so complex, but it's so simple. It's like breath and spirit and electricity all merged into one. And imagining now your breath and spirit and electricity is free to just reach into every nook and cranny. Now that you've come out of that compression, it can go and spread out into every place in your body. So, since we're working the stomach and the spleen, it's nice to pay attention to the front of the thighs. These meridians go up the legs, kind of up the front, inner legs, all the way up through the belly. And so I suggest 2 blocks. We'll do this. I think we did this little sequence last week too, these 2 poses. We're going to do a dragon followed by a swan. And so for dragon, it's nice to have blocks. And you'll take a lunge with 1 foot forward. If you want to pad up your back knee, any amount of padding. I'm a big fan of putting padding down on the whole mat, like lay a blanket out over your whole mat to give you just that extra cushion is really sweet. And now you could have, there's so many ways to work this one. Any leg forward, doesn't matter, okay? And you can have your hands on the inside of your foot. You could have them on either side of your foot, okay? Lots of different ways. You could have them on tall setting blocks. If you don't have blocks, you could grab anything. You could grab some pillows, some books. You could lean on a chair, or you could do it with no props. You could do it with hands on the ground. Forearms on your thigh works just as well too. So you're finding a place for yourself here, and any amount of sort of snuggling and wiggling until you find where you can be there. You're going to feel things, especially after some time. But we're always looking for that magic landing place where we can feel things and also find some amount of ease. So once you arrive, you come to stillness. And you can notice tension in the body. Tension's not a bad thing. Tension's there to just talk to you. And sometimes tension is not just a physical thing. Sometimes it's a story that creates some feeling in our body. So you could just be curious about the sensation you feel, where it's coming from. And perhaps it could spread out a bit, become a little bit looser, not so bound up in one spot. So you can always adjust the times, the holds of these poses. Okay, know that you have absolute power there in your living room or your home or wherever you are to shift things as you need to. But the suggestion would be that you would take one more minute here and you could add a variation to it. So it might look like something like a winging out of the front knee, maybe with a twist. I love to wing the front knee out, lean one hand on a block, and let that opposite side body just sort of hang like a hammock. That's one option. For those of you who are feeling it, you could even reach for the back foot. You could bring your elbows down to the floor or blocks, or you could stay right where you are. And really, a minute's almost over already. So we're halfway there. Settle in, let your energy, your tissues, your whole sort of sense of being, let it seep towards the floor. Let it be grounded, gracefully grounded. And then we'll turn this one right into the swan. And so it might take a little maneuvering on your part, see how your body feels today, but you could start to bring the hips back and heel toe your front foot over to the opposite side, bending the knee to come down, right? So it looks like a pigeon. Options, of course, if your knee is saying no to this, honor that. Come to this version or this version, okay? Both just as wonderful, but with less pressure on the knee. So you are deciding what fits you best this evening. And then you're settling. So we'll go for a fold. If you're in this upright version, you can spill your upper body over your front leg. Any props, right? Bring them with you. Grab them if you need them. Let them go if you decide you don't want them anymore. You're always free to change your mind. So you're breathing again into the soft tissue of the belly. Noticing what you feel there, and perhaps layer by layer, could lightly soften. Maybe even just one layer is enough for today. So this idea of nourishment and the spleen being this transporter, that everything is moving through the body with ease, hopefully, right? to our thinking and our consciousness. That earth element energy, the stomach and spleen meridian, they are associated with something called yi, yi. And yi is the consciousness associated with earth element. It's a stream of consciousness that flows through our mind, just as our heart beats involuntarily. It's just a sort of an ease about it. But that's the hope anyway, right? Sometimes our mind does not feel free flowing and easeful. It gets locked onto one thing. It gets stuck. It gets obsessive, or it gets dull. And so we talk often in this class about being an open vessel, about not being sticky. And that's exactly what this energy is all about. So you can just really lightly touch on the sensation that you feel, the compression or the tension, the heat or the coolness, wherever you feel it. And you just let your attention touch on it and then let go. Notice and back away. If you're feeling an emotion, anything strong, anything at all, emotions, thoughts, just touch them. Just land on it for a second and then go somewhere else. So we can learn how to just be light. That the emotion can be there. The thought can be there. The difficulty can be there. The tension can be there. But there's also a space around it. So we're here for just one more minute. If you could really notice anywhere that you're holding back and allow yourself to soften just a bit more. So, to come out of this one, I suggest just sort of pouring yourself onto your back, trying to stay pretty calm and smooth during the transition. Go slowly and gently, and you could come to a little mini shavasana. If you want to arrange your arms and legs any which way, differently than a regular shavasana, please do. And feeling or imagining that chi, right? The energy, electricity, the breath, the spirit, finding all kinds of crannies and pockets where it wants to go, being redistributed throughout the whole body with ease. When we compress the body, the whole system is responding, the whole system is reverberating and receiving. And the same thing when we release the compression, the whole system vibrates, the whole system receives. So for the next one, we'll use some support. We'll take a back bend, staying on the back, but you might just curl over onto your side so that you can arrange your props. And so the suggestion here is you have a smaller bolster, that might be good. I just have the big one. But what I do, what I found is really nice, is a big bolster and then a pillow. And I like the pillow to start folded up, but I usually do that once I get down there because it doesn't stay. But any amount of props. So you'll have a main prop that's going to be for your lumbar spine. And then you could also put a prop in front of it and or behind it to lessen how big that back bend is going to be for you. So I'll show you my example here is that I pull the bolster right up against the low back and lie back onto the pillow and fold the pillow up so it's a little bit more supportive, a little bit higher. And this works for me, but this might be too big for other people. You might like a towel or a blanket rolled up underneath your lumbar spine. Okay, and you could also, for me, I'm hearing that after a while, I find it okay to release the top pillow and go one more layer into the deepening of the supported back bend, right? And so if you're finding it's all too much, you can also put things underneath your seat. You can take a blanket and put that, at any height, any setting underneath your butt. So you have even less intensity happening. So you are totally in charge. Oh, that's really good. Oh, this feels nice. It's totally in charge of how big you build it up or how gently you make it. And please do take your time. We've got time here. We're going to be in this one for a little while. So, you can come out and come back in and get it to fit you well. You deserve that. Hmm. So we've been in deep winter, right? Deep cold winter, sort of hibernating, the water element season. And soon we'll be moving into the sort of bamboo like feeling, bursting energy, flexible, reaching, excited season of wood. The spring is wood element, but in between, there's earth. And, earth is about nourishing, digesting. It was a weird winter. No matter where you live, no matter who you are, I think we can sort of collectively say this was a weird winter. Right? So to really take it in, to be with whatever complex feelings, emotions, situations are happening. How are you digesting that? Check in with your belly again. Gracefully holding your ground, but also letting yourself be soft and dreamy. So I have a quote from you from my most favorite author of all time, Haruki Murakami, great Japanese writer. He says, and once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain: when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. So there's no going back to normal. We only go forward, and we must dream a new reality for ourselves. Going forward, coming out of this cold, deep winter, what kind of world do we want to create? In yoga philosophy, we have the term Ishvara Pranidhana, pointing ourselves towards the highest. What's your North Star? Who and what do you love? It's about how we form our perceptions and shape our vision, what we're gazing toward. An ideation, something bigger, something just beyond us. So, inviting you, if you like, to bring back that idea of alternate nostril breathing, but without the hands, that you could just feel yourself focusing on breathing in and out through the left nostril, as if you're pouring the breath directly into the right hemisphere of your brain. Breathing yourself into dreamy spaciousness. Reimagining a future that may not be perfect, but moving towards something, dreaming. In and out through the left side a couple more times. And then in and out through the right side. May our dreams come to fruition. May these beautiful things floating in our minds actually come down to earth. May we plant the seeds and tend to them. So, breathing in and out through the right nostril, pouring the breath into the left hemisphere of the brain. Gracefully holding your ground. So, last few moments here, noticing what your attention is bound up in, sensation or thoughts. Just let it soften. Moving in your very soft and calm way, mama cow like way, you can start to tenderly move your way out of this shape. I would suggest perhaps you bend the knees first. As you bend the knees and walk the feet in, pour yourself over to one side or the other. Maybe take a moment there. You might even go back and forth from one side to the other, rock a little bit, or just stay quiet. And at any point, you can take the support away from underneath you and let your body rest on the earth. Might be nice to hug the knees in on your back, or if you prefer a child's pose, that could be an option as well, or anything else the body is craving. The body's longing to be felt. Let your body be felt. Feel your entire system responding, receiving, reverberating. So let's go ahead and take it back up to kneeling or hands and knees so that you can arrange yourself into dragon on the other side. And so it's that foot forward lunge. You'll put the other foot forward and you can use all your props under knees, under hands, under anywhere to set yourself up in this lunge. And also, I didn't mention on the other side, but the position of the knee, whether the knee is over the ankle, whether the knee is beyond the ankle, that's also up to your discretion or up to your joy, your happiness, how you would like it tonight. In Yin, we call this one when the foot is a little closer and the knee goes far beyond the ankle. That one's called the overstepping dragon. So each place where you choose to live, it's going to affect your tissues in a particular way. And so you're really listening. What do I need tonight? Hands on either side, hands on the inside. Prop it up high or keep it down low. And any amount of time to get there. And then live in it. Allow your skin to soften, really come home into your body. I wrote this down a while ago when the moon, we had a full moon in Pisces, but now our sun is in Pisces. And what I wrote underneath Pisces was weary, dreamy, and vulnerable. And so I wonder if that's in there in you somewhere, the feeling of a little bit of weariness, a little bit of dreaminess, and some sensitive tenderness. And it's good. Give yourself space to sort of let your imagination roam and dream. Although I know it's hard in this shape when you're feeling so much. The dance of yoga, right? Feeling discomfort and feeling into what your personal relationship to it is. And how you're open to learning from it and listening to it. How do we not immediately push it away? Can we have respect for it? So, one more minute to take a variation if you so choose. And it doesn't have to be the same one you did on the other side. You can let the front knee wing out. You could move where your arms are. You could bend the back knee. You could play a little bit. And then we'll move right into the swan, which could happen by heel toeing the front foot over or however you need to get there. And if it's better for your body to lie on your back or take it seated, you could definitely do that. So if you're feeling something, you're doing something right. And if it's too much, change it. Finding that happy place in the middle where you can have a little awkwardness, that's okay, a little tension, a little discomfort, but with a hopefully equal or almost equal measure of ease. So, with slowness, with calmness, leaning into the compression or the contraction or the tension that you might feel. Tension is not a bad thing, it's to gauge how much we're relaxing or not. We're not here to push it away or not pretend it's not there. The invitation is to welcome it all and make some space around it. So, wherever you feel it the most intensely, notice that, how it gets sort of bound up there. And imagine whatever that sensation is, try to let it just spread out. Could it loosen just a bit? How's your belly? Breathing again into the soft tissue of the belly. Perhaps another layer of release there. You can scan the body and notice what you observe and what you feel. And how it's not always just bound up in the physicality, it's sometimes bound up in the mind. Often we're holding a thought in the mind that gets communicated and translated by the body. So it's just interesting to observe, just to be curious about that relationship and where you can get unbound, where you can disentangle a little bit. Open vessel, not sticky. And then undoing this one to spill onto your back again, just sort of imagining that you're like water as you pour your way up and then onto your back and spill out on the floor. Letting the effects of that compression seep into your tissues, your whole living matrix, receiving and vibrating. The thousands and thousands of cells inside you vibrating and communicating, living and dying. Such aliveness and always changing. And one more time this evening, if you choose to go with me on this, you can breathe in and out through your left nostril a few times. Pour the breath in to the right hemisphere of your brain with your imagination. Breathe yourself into such a dreamy, sweet spaciousness that you can imagine all the molecules that make up you loosening a little bit, slightly and gently moving away from each other. Feeling perhaps a little bit cloud-like. And then breathing in and out through the right side. And you can use hands or no hands here. Breathing in and out through the right side to be so gracefully anchored and grounded. You can imagine the visualization of a cloud, a really soft, fluffy cloud. It sort of starts to fill with rain. It gets heavier and heavier. And you are that cloud, and you become that rain, and you pour down into earth. You seep into the planet. You merge with the soil. And so from here, we'll rest in a shavasana. You can let go of any breathing, of any management of anything. If you want to change your position, you're very welcome to. Shavasana could happen on your side or on your belly or even seated. Dreamy, vulnerable, and gracefully grounded. And please feel free to stay if you feel inclined to take a longer shavasana. Otherwise, like a little new sprig of baby bamboo pushing itself out of the soft earth, you can start to feel yourself light up, collect your limbs, Take a deeper breath. As we move out of this deep winter hibernation and we prepare to burst forth into spring, what will we bring with us? What will we dream into our reality? You might bring your hands onto your body or in a prayer, and we could finish with Om. And if you're still lying down or wherever you are, that's great. Breathing in. Om. Thank you, my friend.